Well, that was a pre-recorded show of the overview of the Way of Mastery lessons 1 through 19. And I don't know about you all, but I needed that. That was awesome. Let's hold the space for Dr. Tim. He has a cold and laryngitis, and so he had asked me to play that for him today. While we're waiting on Michael to dial in, I see that Susan's already got her hand up, so I'm going to press her microphone and turn her on. Welcome, Susan.
Hello, welcome home. How was the trip home with Michael?
Thank you. It was good. There's a mountain from here to Asheville, and it was really foggy going over and coming back, but we made the trip fine and got back home last night. And, just rested, and Michael's, he's already out there digging mulch for me. So,
whoa, amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I was surprised that Dr. Tim wasn't live today. I hope everything's okay. That's none of my business.
He's got a cold and laryngitis, and so having to talk was going to be a challenge for him, so he is staying home and resting. Just sending him a lot of healing love. Yeah.
Okay, because usually he announces
it's definitely been a week. Yeah, it's definitely, he plays one for us, we play one for him, and vice versa. We've done that, I think, 2 or 3 times this week, but that happens.
Right. Well, it's whatever you guys choose to run is amazing. Often I don't listen to a replay because I think, I've heard it before and I got so much to do, and I don't listen. I listen to this, and I should have listened to them all because, of course, they're curated for being the best of the best. And so and we need to listen over and over to those things. These lessons he read are like a summary of everything we've been trying to do from the get-go. And even this new Christian Sundberg guy, he's telling the same thing in a different way, and it hits different ways into our brain cells, and we get different kind of revelations, but it's the same good stuff. And I do have a question for Michael and you about something that Michael sometimes quotes about the highest treason is to do the right thing for the wrong reason. And I'll ask the question now is, whatever I do, I have lots of reasons, and some of them are the right reason and some of them are not. I understand what that is, but I just feel as if I'm not that clear of a customer that I could just know I'm doing something for the right reason and have it be absolutely clear in my system. Usually my ego's getting something out of it, and whatever. So I wondered if he had a thought about
the easiest way is just that's TS Elliott that he quotes, but I guess looking at whatever you do, and are you doing it from a space of love, or are you doing it out of fear or hostility? And that would answer.
Usually it's a combination. That's what I mean. It's usually a combination. My intention is, I hope it's always a good intention, but there's, my favorite miserable, and many of ours is, Christian Sundberg returned to Earth for another lifetime in order to learn how to clear and heal his fear. And this is a very high soul. So anyway, I feel as if it's just the human condition maybe or something.
Right. Well, with you on at the very beginning, one of the first lessons that Dr. Tim reviewed was, or at least it's the first one that really stuck in my brain, was where he talks about, everybody is doing the best they can with the resources that they have at every moment. So that may change, from day to day or moment to moment even. And Michael has joined us, so what we're talking about is T.S. Elliott's doing the right thing for the wrong reason. And how can you know, sometimes our reactions or behaviors are a mixture of those two. Do you have a comment on that, Michael?
Well, a lot of people say everybody's doing the best they can. And my offering is that's not true. That's just not the truth. And I say that from personal experience.
Kim says that's not true.
Yeah, well, I'm in
Kim
agreement
says,
with
I know
Jim
that's probably not true, but I'm going to live as if it is, because it makes me a nicer person. But go ahead, Michael.
Well, I'm speaking from my own experiences. There are times when I've done things that I know I shouldn't have done. I know it was not in harmony with my highest and best or what I should be doing as a human being, and I did it anyway. So I didn't do the best I could have done, and I think a lot of people could be making choices and or doing the work that would lead them to better choices. So it's a nice kind of platitude. Well, they did, and in some sense, even if they chose the lower path, they did the best they could because at that moment that's what drove them. But I wouldn't put an absolute stamp on that one. Everybody's doing the best they can do, because people do things that they and even I wish I didn't want to do that, but there was something inside of me that forced me to do it. And it wasn't my highest and best, and it wasn't the best I could have done, and it's what I did.
When you have that attitude, though, that people are doing the best they can, it's your way of refraining from judging them, which saves your neck. Did that make sense?
Yeah, I would give it a slightly different twist. I think it's a way of me rationalizing and not dealing with my response to what they did. If I look at someone and they did something and what it triggered in me was rage, I can, it's kind of like that premature positive thinking thing. I can say, well, they did the best they could do, so I can ignore my rage.
Yeah.
And I think it can be. I don't think it's always true, but it can be a spiritual bypass. Oh, I don't want to deal with this, so I'm just going to make an excuse for them. And by making an excuse for them, I get to avoid what's really going on in my own mind.
Yeah. Well, when they say Jesus died for our sins, and you could launch into that one big time, I'm sure. Basically, how I've heard that is, thank God, because I can't clean up everything that's in my system. I need a rescue. I'm doing my work, but I need a rescue.
Well, if you go back to that situation in the Garden of Gethsemane, it doesn't say he died for our sins. I think that's a churchianity interpretation. I'm not sure the scriptures actually say that anywhere, and I might be incorrect there. However, what it said was he took on the sins of the world. And in the way that, a strong person might go and take on the labor of another person, take on their work. And to me, it doesn't imply suffering. It implies he had a level of power and commitment and ability to assist people in doing what they were not yet able to do for themselves, and so lighten the burden. So I don't see it in any way of, the word sacrifice has been sort of kicked around to be, well, he destroyed himself for them, when the word sacrifice means to make sacred. And to move into that sacred space of love empowers us to take on energetic patterns that otherwise we might not be able to do.
Well, that's really nice.
And so
I like that.
I hear him taking on, saying, I'll assist, I'll support, I'll, out of my power, provide some energy to alleviate this burden from others. And that becomes, to me, a whole different thing than he took on the sins of the world, so now I don't have to deal with it. If I think I'm not going to have to deal with my stuff because he took it on, then people just go right on doing their same old hate and rage and guilt and, traumatizing people, blah, 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 blah. And it becomes, I think, a total misinterpretation and therefore destructive in the world.
But there's a middle in there. It's like, I'm doing the best I can, but I'm telling you, I'm in my present state of mind, watching my mind. One difficult person in our Zoom group, and my triggers are firing, and I'm doing my worksheets,
right.
And I'm thinking, when is this going to end? I'm getting a little old here, and it's the same thing. And I think I need the bolstering. I certainly need the bolstering, and I do figure it's fair enough if Jesus is bolstering us, counting on us doing our own work. I like that a lot.
Yes.
But in the end,
that's my take.
I am hoping he'll just take me by the scruff and pull me across the line, because I don't know if I could get there on my own.
Well, once again, we look at that circumstance we talked about so many times, where the woman has this 12-year issue of blood, pretty heavy-duty disease process, and she needs some help from her big brother, touch the hem of his garment, be able to draw on his power to support him. But he didn't, in any way, shape, or form, he did the exact opposite, claiming that he did it for her. He said, no, it was you. It was your work that did it. And, do we all need support at some point? Absolutely. And that, to me, is what every one of us can give to every other. You may say, oh, I've got a weakness and I just can't do this. But when you're in your strong space and I come up with a weakness, you can be the power and the strength that pulls me by the scruff of my neck across that line, and vice versa. So to me, ultimately, it's that we become that for each other. We follow the Master's lead, and he said, okay, here's how you do it. Not here's how I'm going to do it for you. And so many people just use he's going to do it for them as an excuse to just stay with the same old patterns and the same old prejudices and racism and hatred and fear.
Don't you think, though, if you really, really believed that he could do it for me and he's doing it for me, that alone would heal us to be our very best? Maybe not, but
Well, I believe, yes, if we had a deep enough connection with that thought, yes, absolutely. But I haven't observed too many having that deep a connection with that thought. Right. They'll say the nice words about Jesus, my Savior, and then go on puke on, let's say, for instance, an immigrant. How many times have you seen that?
Yep.
You look at what's going on in our culture today and the puking that's happened by people who call themselves members of churchianity. And they're sure not emanating the love of God or the mind of Christ. To me, there is only one thing that qualifies a person to be called a Christian, and that is that they actually function out of the mind of love. To have any other definition is just a fraud.
Right. And that's
I'm a member of the right church, or I believe, pardon me?
Yeah. Well, that makes it universal right there. There's no more church. It's universal. I mean, you can't say
it is
yours
universal,
is the only
church.
way.
And churchianity can be a huge help in the process. I mean, we all need somewhere to go to do our learning and to practice and to work with each other and to have, the community of support is monumental in doing one's work. I don't believe there's anybody isolated that could do this on their own.
Yeah. Think of a funny
So I think it plays an important role.
Take up time. Yeah.
It's just when the role becomes really non-functional.
Yeah.
Well, breathing with you.
Yeah. Life is very challenging.
So is life giving you some particular opportunities at this moment?
Oh, sure. But it's the same old, different colors and different shapes. But it's the same sort of thing. Yeah.
So you're doing your 77 times 70 is what I'm hearing you say.
I know, and I think it's a lot more than it's a lot more than that. Yeah.
Well, you take those numbers symbolically instead of literally, and it's an infinite number of worksheets until I'm complete with this issue. And it's a process.
In the scientific world, they tell us about the Webb telescope showing us that there's many more universes beyond our universes, and many more beyond there. And then you have the other side, which is it's all an illusion anyway. They're not real anyway. Okay, I just don't know what to do with that.
Well, my take would be that that would be a false statement.
Which?
That idea that they're not real. That's not what the Course is saying, if you're taking that from the Course's perspective.
Oh, I guess I am. I mean, everybody's saying it. Christian Sundberg, you know, The Way of Mastery. Maybe I'm not getting something there. What does the Course say?
Well, my take would be if you go to that lesson, what is the world? And, you know, many people who work with the Course interpret the world as everything you can see, taste, touch, and feel as being non-existent. Mm-hmm. For me, that is not even relative or close to what the Course is saying. The Course is pretty clear. In that lesson, what is the world? The lesson starts out with a simple sentence, what is the world? And then it answers the question in a simple sentence. The world is false perception, period. So the overlay that I put on the world that the Creator created, you know, if I reach my hand out and I touch this table, that table is the world that the Creator created. The meaning that I give it, the perceptual construct my mind gives it, is the world that the Course is aiming forgiveness at, is the world that the Course is saying is not real.
Yeah, oh, I get it, okay.
And so that would, to me, apply to, you know, people look and they go, well, there are no people out there. Well, that's right. There are no separate bodies. There are no, you know, forms that, you know, I would call Bill or Harry or Mary or Hortense. That's all an illusion. That's all a construct of my mind. But if I could see you for what you are, I would see this whirring mass of electrons, protons, neutrons, and light. That you exist. That's the world the Creator created. I put the world of bodies over it. I make up the illusions. You know, the root of the word illusion in Aramaic is the word measured. When you hear it said in the scriptures, as you measure, it will be measured unto you. If I measure hatred into my form, into my experience and my expression, then my perceptual construct, the world I see, will be filled with the hatred. It will measure back to me what I measured into my structure, and I'm going to see a world of hatred. That world isn't real. It's just a reality in my mind. Yeah. And that's what the Course is aiming at correcting. And then when we wake up to the truth, then we're going to get to touch into what the Creator created. Does that make sense?
And it does make sense, and I have understood that. I guess what I'm boggled at is however I perceive it, there is a lot going on out in the universe. Far bigger,
a whole lot more than what we see.
Right. And, of course, my default is to be scared out of my mind. Because it's so big.
Of course, that's just because there's a generational pattern of fear that could be forgiven.
Yeah. I could get excited about it, just be overjoyed.
Yeah.
Inspired by it. I know. I'm waiting for that to happen, Michael. I tell you.
Well, but until you've measured joy and inspiration and aliveness and creativity into your structure, your perception isn't going to be able to give it back to you, isn't going to be able to measure it back to you.
And so
if
you do
if what my bloodline has structured into my perceptual system is, you know, fear and terror and trauma and, oh, things are going to go badly and it's going to be trouble and blah, 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 then I'm going to get back that blah, 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 blah in my mind's constructs. And my mind will be telling me about me, not the world that the Creator created.
Yeah, right. There's this big equation that basically says when it's that big and that new and that much unknown, you're not safe. So, but the fact that we're all separate bodies, but I think this Christian Sundberg says as long as we perceive ourselves as separate, we will be afraid.
Yes. And Einstein backs him up from the world of physics. If you think you're separate or separated from the rest of humanity, you're living in an optical delusion.
But that doesn't mean you have to.
And that delusion is based in fear and separateness.
Oh, okay.
So what if I moved in the direction of holding a thought, kind of like a bridge across to the truth, if I work to really comprehend and hold the thought that, well, my mind's showing me a world of separate bodies. That's my optical delusion. That's how my mind has been trained. And underneath it, what I know is everything is connected in this world of light. Mm-hmm. And as long as I give up all attack in me, then this world of light will only bring me light. But as long as I hold to attack thoughts, then the world has to give me back what I've asked for. So each time I confront another part of me that holds attack and I forgive it, I get closer and closer to, I'm part of this universe of light, and this universe of light is conspiring to support me and nurture me. Listen to that scriptural quote, and I can't speak it exactly, but basically where the Creator's speaking to you and say, I have the most wonderful things in mind for you, to take care of you, to nurture you. But you got other plans, so, have at it as long as you choose to.
Mm. I know you.
And remembering, it's a key.
It's the key. It just seems as if I'm using a toothpick to remove a mountain, is how it feels.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's accurate. When you realize we've got 1,000 generations in there, the thoughts, the feelings, the traumas, the dramas, as well as the beauties and the wonders and the abundance, we've got them both. Yeah, it's a pretty big mountain to think about taking on. And the one thought that assists me with that is that what I know is that the Creator put this feminine elemental force in me that if I'm ready and willing to let go of this, she will undo those errors and she will show me what the truth is. And if I'm willing to listen instead of being busy with all the generational stories in my mind, then I'm going to get a whole different result out of my world.
Yeah. Right. I do feel as if you have to use all your faculties to get there. For instance, what was happening with our housemate, Michael, I had to go talk to him. It wasn't just doing my worksheets. I actually had to meet with the actual person, find out where he really is, because my mind builds up stories, gangbusters, and can work up a tremendous head of steam all by itself. I create my whole world in there. And going to meet another person and find out what's really happening with them is a great gift in most cases. Once in a while it could go bad, I'm sure. But it's just, it feels daunting today.
Here's the thing to me that brings solace, and that is, and motivation, is it will never be any worse than the worst thought that I hold. I've often said this in the context, it will never, whatever I think of, how this world is going to attack me, it will never be any worse than my own worst attack thought.
Oh, yeah.
If they're pretty disastrous, if it's pretty disastrous, my thoughts, then yeah, the attacks are going to be pretty disastrous. You've heard me say this in relationship to the power person dynamic, and that is that you're probably not any more vicious than your power person was, but you are just as vicious.
Yeah.
Until you address and resolve those dynamics.
Mm-hmm. Well, we get back to doing the right thing for the wrong reason. I know that, and yet I do a bypass. Like with my grandson, when I'm tempted to be triggered because he isn't nice, he's snarky. That's a nice word for it. I breathe. Right. I picture him whole, and it's easier because he's my grandson, and I genuinely treasure that guy. I was going to say the word love, but I know you don't use that word. I do love that boy unconditionally and forever, so I could just go find that in my heart, and I can do it, but with somebody else that I don't know. And it helps to have a person or two or three or 10 in your life toward whom you feel that way, because you can just say to yourself, the way I love that person is the way God loves everybody. And so what's my problem here? Can't I just choose that, sit on that? But I am doing that for a good reason, for the right reasons and also the wrong reasons, and that is that I don't want to sit with my animosity, my hatred. I'm looking at it. Maybe I'm confusing something about what Elliott said. Maybe this is all okay. But anyway, it feels contaminated.
And remember where feelings come from, and that's thoughts. And whose thoughts cause my feelings? Me. So what thought disorder am I engaging in that I feel this way, and am I willing to forgive it?
Wow. Okay, I got it. Okay, that's really good, Michael. 2 memories popped into my mind that are going to be useful for this. That's good.
Awesome. Sweet. That's what we'd be here to do.
Thoughts. Those aren't my thoughts. Those aren't my thoughts. I've borrowed them and made them mine, but they're not my thoughts. Yay!
Right.
Okay. Good.
Yeah, when you realize there's so many generational patterns in us.
Mm-hmm.
And am I willing to take on those patterns and work through them?
I have to read this to you. A woman who did the intervention for Luke a couple of years ago put something on Facebook that's food for incredible thought. And it's more complicated than this, but listen to this. What I think you think of me is what I think of me. What you think I think of you is what you think of you. I think.
Right.
That's what she put on Facebook. I thought that was really fun. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right on track. It's all perception.
Yeah, projection, perception. I love that idea in the way of mastery that says forgiveness is you forgive yourself for the perception of anything but the best in the other person. That's a reword by me because I don't have it in front of me. That's a beautiful thing. Anyway, okay, Michael, carry on. Thank you for talking. Welcome back. I'm glad you're in the actual selfness, because it's always nice to have living people on the other end of the radio. Please.
Yes. Well, it's good to be home, for sure.
I bet it
had
is.
A wonderful time with Michael J., with my son and his wife. And I had lots of awesome baby snuggle times. Kaylee Jo's 5 months, and so she's at that stage. If you smile at her, she just gets so excited and so laughing and so giggly and just arms out and arms and legs going. And So I got lots of time with her, and it was really, really sweet.
That's wonderful.
And it was good to be able to be there to support Michael and Krista Michael, Krista actually, and CJ's brother and Jamie in just going through, his sister and, Michael J's mom passing. It was just really powerful to be there and to hold the space.
That's
and
wonderful.
I got to clean up some old communication with CJ as well. So all in all, it was
that's great.
It was a really wonderful journey.
That's great. Good. Congratulations. And I hope it was an easy go for her.
At the last minute, her whole countenance just got soft and quiet, and she just very gently let go. Very, very
nice.
Sweet space, very gently, and it was in the context of a conversation about forgiveness that she just let go. So it was powerful. It was a blessing to be able to be there with her and for her, moving through it. She had definitely done enough suffering and had enough pain to, it was just time to just let go. And the kids had told her, she was worried about them and how they were going to do, and they both assured her very deeply that they were okay and it was all right for her to just let go. So she finally did.
Wonderful. Yep. Good. I had
One
a
of the
very
things
good friend die of the same way 2 days ago, kidney failure.
Oh, really?
I decided not to do dialysis and let her go. And she died 2 days ago. So, yeah. And her daughter sent us the obituary and told us that it was gentle and easy. So good.
For sure. For sure. Rather than it having to be a trauma.
Right.
That may be,
what were you
may
gonna
well
say,
be.
Michael?
It may well be that one of the things we're here to do is to learn to die consciously and gently until we choose to give up dying altogether.
Right. I hope we do
And of
that
course
in a big bunch because, my idea is
it's
some
nice
of us
to have
sticking
people hanging around.
I know.
Well, and that's a piece of work to do. A big objection I get from a lot of people, well, if I live to be 200, everybody that I know is dead. It's like, okay, so now what does that mean to you? Well, everybody's dead. Well, okay. So what realities would you hold about everybody that you know being dead that you'd have to forgive to continue to recognize yourself as the presence of love and to continue to live as the presence of love and hold the space for people to give up death and be life? What would that take? So maybe that's our next challenge. That's what I'm working on. Can I give up the pain, the thought disorders in me about people dying, so that if somebody chooses to do that, I give them the liberty and the support to do that and hold to the space of love? Why would that be traumatic? I mean, I might say, gee, I would really like that person to be here. But if they've made a choice, do I have the right to take that away? And so what if in mass we started going, oh, well, we can work through that and we can just carry on. It's like, let's go for it. Let's go for it. Put the date on your calendar for our New Year's party in 4949, New Year's Eve, and let's just plan to carry on and hang out together. And let's create a community of eternals.
There's
a line in the Course of Miracles that says, swear never to die, you holy Son of God.
Well, that doesn't mean we keep our body, though, does it? I think they mean that we drop the body, but we're very much alive for all eternity.
Well, the last time I looked, the common definition, at least in this culture of death, is the body drops. Now, in Aramaic, the word death means dead, means present elsewhere. There was enough enlightenment to know that it wasn't about physical life. However, I think if we choose to take on a form and treat it only with energetic patterns that support its aliveness, then aliveness is the only option.
I do understand what you're saying. I can't imagine enough of us are going to do that. We might have a very small cadre over there at Heartland.
Okay. Know. Well, we've got a couple of thousand years to gather others.
My first image is a pile of desiccated old people in wheelchairs with no teeth. I know I have to get past
cancel that. No, my visual is a group of people who are vital, alive, strong, muscular, healthy, intelligent, creative people.
Much better. I'll take that one.
Who've given up everything that would cause people to be toothless, old, decayed, and desiccated. Let's give it up. Let's make a commitment to face everything in us that has created death in any of our ancestors. You know, what killed my great-great-great-great-grandfather? You know, was it a broken heart? Was it a broken back? Then am I willing to deal with the energy patterns in my back and clean them up, bring them to love? If it was a broken heart, am I willing to, you know, clean up the thought disorders that I have about people who would hurt me? Am I willing to do that? Then if I am, then why would I have to create death? So let's hold a visual. Let's create the visual now of vital, alive people, and we have a basketball court there. On the basketball court, just playing their hearts out, shooting baskets, high vitality, high energy, and then jogging down the hill to the lake, jumping in for an invigorating swim, and then running back up the hill to play some more basketball.
I can picture it.
And there's no requirement for a wheelchair on the property whatsoever. You remember that cartoon you've seen of the lemmings going over the cliff?
Yeah.
And there's one lemming going the other way with their hand up saying, "Excusez-moi, excusez-moi." We need to become that in this avalanche of suffering and death that's taken over the world. Because that's not natural. That's not what the world's designed for. And the masters who've come have been trying to convince us of that for a long, long time, and most people don't take them at their word. So breathing with you as we think about the possibilities of that and how large a group could we gather. You know, there's a Heartland's about 17 acres, but there's a whole peninsula of land there that I could see being filled with Heartlanders, with Eternals, who have this place with the top 10% clean air in the nation, gardens, lakes, streams, blue skies, and life in abundance.
Michael,
now
you have incredible vitality. to even have those thoughts. I'm having them right along with you, but I'm lying
Dear
down.
Heart. Yeah. Dear Heart, when I was a kid, I can remember being so weak and so filled with pain that I laid in the bed, and across from my bedroom door was the bathroom door, and I could see the toilet, and I didn't have enough energy to get out of my bed and get to that toilet, and I would be then taken to a hospital and put in an oxygen tent so I had enough energy to keep on my organs going. For years and years and years and years.
How did you turn that around, Michael?
All of the above. I got to the point where and I can remember thinking this, it's like these drugs are keeping me alive, but they're killing me. This is not life. Mm-hmm. And I started a search. And how did I do it? All of the above. I've incorporated everything into this work that it took for me to go from someone who had so much back pain that if I bent over into the wrong position, somebody had to come and physically pick me up. That I had so many breathing disorders that there would be times when, again, I'd be in a hospital in an oxygen tent, or I had an inhalator in my pocket everywhere I went and would be puffing on this puffer in order to keep breathing. Everything that I teach is what I did.
Wow.
So it's difficult for me to believe in deterioration and degeneration as being natural because I have the experience that it's not. And with having the experience that it's not natural, then in terms of theoretically, it comes to me that, well, obviously, if I can come this far, then why not go the rest of the way? Why settle for this? What do I have to face? I don't know what I have to face yet. I don't know what comes next. I know that the deepest layers of it have come in the last 2 and 3 years. So, carry on.
Yeah. Well, I know what you mean. I feel as if the last 2 or 3 years of my life I've learned so much, and I think, wait a minute, we're supposed to, my idea of old people is quite different from what's happening to me in my brain. And physically, I'm hanging in there all right, knock on wood. I have. So.
And we're raising up a generation who know from the beginning, the conversations we have with Aria. I mean, to have had for her to be able to repeat back, to speak back, and to comprehend in a way that she brings forward ideas that we haven't even thought of. If somebody handed that to me at 4. And,
amazing.
I've started with that conversation with my granddaughter, Kaylee Jo. She's 5 months. And we're having those conversations. We're talking about all the things that you and I are talking about.
Yeah.
With her at 5 months. She's building the brain cells already.
Lucky little girls.
So what if we had a critical mass of people that were doing that with their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren?
Yeah.
So what is the world? The world is false perception. It is born of error. It has not left its source. It will remain no longer than the thought that gave it birth is cherished. Now, of course, if I cherish my suffering or my pain and I make it my red badge of courage, then even if I told Ruka to take it away, Ruka couldn't, because my will has said this is mine and I want it.
Yeah.
An important part is to learn what we don't want.
And then to be willing to relinquish it. and be vigilant as heck because it's sneaky.
Wants to sneak back in, exactly. So joining you in it, young lady.
Thanks. I know you are. You're way ahead of me. I'm joining you in it.
Well, let's go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, any other thoughts for you today?
Sure, only if nobody else is on, and I'm not kidding about that. I don't want to dominate the whole radio show. So ask Jeannie if somebody.
So you want to dominate the whole radio show? Okay.
Wyatt, Michael, I
heard
don't.
You.
That's not true.
I heard you.
I know you did.
So what's your thought?
We have a new man on our Zoom group. He's in his early 80s, and he has been writing. He's kind of a genius like you. He's been writing. He's a scientist and a philosopher and a mystic. I'm using those words. I don't think he has used those words. He lives
you mentioned
in
him last week.
Yeah, he lives. I've been thinking more about what he said to us. He lives in the presence. He calls it the presence. And I said, how does that feel? And he said, when I'm in there, I feel great. I feel joyful, playful, wonderful. He's talking about bliss, I imagine. So then, what is it that he said? He's very, very buttoned up, very reserved, very quiet, kind of a sober-sided guy. Lives alone, never married, never had children. But he lives this life. And Ellen, who was on the radio show a lot for a while, especially with Dr. Tim, because he was doing the Course in Miracles for a year, she lives across the street from him, and they met by accident, and she is now she's 20 years younger than he, so she has become his executor for his written work. He's handing her sheaves of paper, and she's a little nervous about it because a lot of it's beyond her understanding. It's very scientific and technical, but he's trying to make it universal. It's tools. I think he's got his own set of tools, and he said he has had several visitations from the presence, which were more powerful than general. And one of them, he said, I heard words. And we said, what words? And he said, all I heard was holy, holy, holy. Isn't that gorgeous?
Powerful.
Anyway.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I know, and he's just so, he's like the raw thing, you know. He hasn't had a community. He comes on, and he's very twinkly. You know, we say, well, tell more about this. And he said, I'm going to get a big ego. You seem so interested in my stuff. He's very cute, you know. He's really kind of like a kid. But anyway, I might report about him. I hope he hangs in with us. I think he's enjoying the meetings.
That's sweet.
But then, yeah.
Awesome. Who knows what wisdom he's going to have to contribute as you go along.
I know. He's kind of like a little local guru. He doesn't make claims.
Very cool.
I mean, he's not trying to do anything. Yeah. Anyway, so that's all I have else. So thank you for talking.
Honored and delighted, as usual. Always appreciate the conversations you bring forward, the questions you ask, and what our conversations get to draw out.
Well, thanks. I get a lot from them. I must say I really do. Even saying those 3 words that he said, it's like filled with holy energy. Just saying them. That's what I mean. There's a whole other side besides the nasty, the critical that I'm dealing with so often. There's this other side that just goes bam, and it's right in the middle of your heart, and it's got you by it's like a grip or something.
Right.
And, you know, the newspapers and the news feeds, I'm not, you know, you always watch movies to challenge yourself and give yourself more material to worksheets. Who needs those? I mean, going on Facebook and watching dogs that have been kicked to death and dogs that are starving on the sides of roads and lost to their owners and stuff. There's so much material to do worksheets on. It's dangerous.
Well, I've never thought about seeking out videos like that, and I probably won't. But
well, they're on Facebook. Maybe you don't get them.
Yeah. Holding a space for all of life.
Yeah. Thanks. Good.
I was going to add, you were talking about, teaching Aria and the grandbabies. And I took Aria with me to the chiropractor the other day. And he actually, when I was checking out, he told the girl that was running the register or the front desk, he said, Aria, tell her what you're here for. And she looked up and she goes, to be loved. So, I mean, it's even impacted the chiropractor.
That's wonderful.
Jeannie went for an adjustment. It's the second time that he has met Aria. And the first time, this guy apparently doesn't particularly like children. And when Aria came in, he was just so delighted to be with her. And the whole time he's in conversation with her. And in this adjustment, I wasn't there yesterday, of course, but it was like he had her as his CA. He was his assistant, and he's asking her questions, and she's asking him questions and answering questions and giving him answers that he's shocked, to hear. It's fun to hear her impact on him. It's pretty cool.
Wow. Boy, it's going to be fun to see what she is when she grows up, how much she's going to feed into the world's healing.
Yeah. She didn't want to leave the office. She flopped down in a chair and was like, well, let's just stay here. And I said, well, we can't. I said, he has other clients, other patients. And he said, well, how about, he gave her a high five because she did good helping him. And he was working on me, but he was talking to her the whole time. So it was really funny. But
wow.
He said, can you give me a hug before you leave? And she put her arms around his neck and her legs around his body. And he goes, oh, my gosh, I just needed that. So
that's so great.
Really had an impact on him. Yeah.
Not great.
And of course, she got several new anatomy lessons in the process, so that was pretty cool, too. He's teaching her. I can see her being his chiropractic assistant when she grows and gets into high school.
There was a spine in the corner, and it has the nerves sticking out of it. And he said, do you know what those things are that are sticking out from the bones? And she said, is that what takes the blood? And he goes, no. He said, those are veins and arteries. He said, these are nerves. He said, the brain is a master organ, and it uses those nerves to tell the other parts of the body what they need to do. And she goes, oh, that's how it sends signals. And his eyes got big, and he goes, I didn't say signals. But she got it. She knows it.
Isn't that great?
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
And we do have a
so we'll hold
caller
the space for the healing of the world. All right. Well, let's say hello. Thank you for being with us, young lady. We appreciate you and cherish you. I sent you a text, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay. So it doesn't have a number. It's just a Skype caller. So you are live on air. Who do we have?
Be aware. Give us a name. Where are you calling from? Hello, Skype caller. Can you hear us?
Yes.
You're on.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi.
You're on. We can hear you loud and clear. How can we support you today? What's on your mind? Hello, Skype caller. We can hear you. We heard you say hello.
Okay. That one hung up, but there is another one, so maybe she came through again. So Skype caller, you're in the air. Who do we have?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, can you hear me?
You're loud and clear. Who are we talking
wonderful.
to? Where are you calling from?
Well, I'm an assistant to a celebrity calling from California. We're actually out on a hike, and we were listening to your show and just really got inspired. I wanted to thank you, first off.
Oh, awesome. Well, glad to be an inspiration. That's our job. That's what we're doing in the world, or at least doing our best to do. And hiking in California sounds like a really neat thing to be doing today.
Oh, what was that? I'm sorry.
I say hiking in California sounds like a really cool thing to be doing today.
Oh, it is. It's really gratifying. Have you ever done like a gratitude hike?
I can't say that I've ever. It sounds like an interesting idea, but I can't say I've ever applied the idea of gratitude to hiking particularly.
Well, it's kind of, gratifying, and it's a way to thank yourself and also reward yourself while getting exercise.
Sounds perfectly on track to me. Actually, we've got a kind of a unique waterfall here called the Weir Dam that we go out to every once in a while. And the next time we go out, I mean, we do spend time and appreciation while we're doing that, but that'll take it to another level for us. So thank you for that thought.
Oh, well, you're very welcome. I guess I can say who I'm an assistant to. Are you familiar with Oprah?
I am.
Yeah, I'm one of her assistants. And I go on gratitude hikes with her and Gail. I don't know if you know who that is, too.
I don't know Gail, but that's pretty awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
I would love to bring the forgiveness work we do to her audience. That would be awesome.
What was that? I'm sorry.
I say I would love to bring the forgiveness work that we do to her audience.
Oh, well, I can't promise anything, but maybe we could mention something like that. But, one of the things that she advises and that I hear you doing is to just, take a moment to breathe.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's interesting in the context of the conversation you've been listening to so far. In the ancient Aramaic language where we hear this creation story in the Western scriptures, we're told that that story says God sent out his spirit, but in Aramaic, that's not what it says. It says the Creator sent out his breath. It literally is our direct connection to creative energy, and the reason why we put such a focus on it is because whenever people shut down their breath, that's when they're hiding something from themselves. And that's basically what leads us to trauma. So I agree with her right on with that one.
And I always say, close your eyes, take a deep breath, and just picture your best life.
Mm-hmm. I'm with you on that.
Now, can you do me a favor? Because I'm looking out here at the valley on our hike, hoping we don't see any mountain lions or anything like that. But could you open your eyes and look around and tell me what you see?
I see a fan. I see a phone. I see a healing light. I see a cup of tea.
That's beautiful.
I'm in a room.
That's beautiful. Oh, and what is the healing light? I have my hand.
Oh, it's a device that comes out of South America. It's a crystal healing light. Several Vogel cut crystals that we use personally.
Oh.
Are you familiar with Marcel Vogel?
I can't say that I am. I'm sorry.
Well, he's a former 23-year computer scientist from IBM, and he got into, in his later years, cutting crystals very precisely so that they conducted different healing energies for support of the healing process. So they're called Vogel cut crystals if you look online. And Marcel Vogel is the man who, if the kind of mind he had, if you have a computer, the reason your computer works is because he invented the magnetic coating that allows your hard drive to work. At 11 years of age, he invented chemical light. You go to a football game and you buy a light stick and there are two tubes inside. You break them, the chemicals mix and you have light. That's Marcel Vogel's invention. And so there's 7 crystals on a bar that just support energy. And we're getting down to the point, enjoying the conversation, and maybe we can continue it tomorrow. Or well, actually, it would be, tomorrow. Today's only Thursday. Tomorrow we could continue if you choose to, but it's going to cut us off in a few seconds. And be delighted to continue the